Hey everybody, this is Dream, and today we have a nice big 11-game Major League Baseball slate. Before I get started, can you guys smash that like and subscribe button? I do want to mention to start at the video that we have some weather concerns today. The Oakland-Boston game and the Colorado-Cincinnati game both have weather concerns, but they both likely will play. But when we get to the heavy rain situations, Kansas City Royals versus St. Louis and Minnesota versus Chicago White Sox, those games I feel are pretty doubtful, so they are very risky on the slate. That said, we do have some guys we like today, so let's go ahead and get into the slate. Let's look at our pitchers first. So we're going to start with our top overall play of Chris Sale. Now, he's the most expensive option. He was looking really solid yesterday when there was no good pitchers on the slate. He still looks really solid today because he got pushed back a day, and I expect him to have a really solid opportunity here to win. And so I think he's a great option. He's been absolutely phenomenal all season long, so he's a great play on the slate. I do want to mention that there is a lot of better pitchers today, so that does give some potential where you don't have to use him as a core play, but he's definitely going to be one of the more favorable options on the slate. Then we're going to look at some GPP plays here at Lodolo. He's very priced fairly today at $800, so he's coming back from his injury. So if he does play today, he'll be somebody I would consider, or he's got to play, but I don't know what his full workload is going to be here, so he's got to have a little bit of a concern here, and so he is a GPP play here. He has struggled this season, but he has a lot of upside in this matchup, but he probably won't play as many pitches as he normally would. Then we'll look at Bailey Ober. Now, Ober is in a very difficult situation here since he is facing the White Sox, but this game may be suspended before the game even starts. But if he isn't, then he would be my favorite play outside of Chris Sale, and so he's definitely a good contrarian play or a good P1 play if you want to use Sale. He's got a lot of upside. He's got a really good K rate, and he has nice potential on this game. But that weather concern is really making me doubt him. Looking at Scherzer for Texas, he's really struggled so far in the last two games. But he gets a little bit easier matchup here, or maybe he can have a good game. He's getting deeper in the pitching now, so that does give him some upside, but he's definitely high risk, high reward at this price point. Then one other guy, Logan Gilbert for Seattle. Man, he's got a tougher matchup against San Diego, but I do like his potential here, but he's been a little up and down all season. However, he has a high ceiling, so he's definitely in play on the slate, and he's going to probably be the better contrarian option away from Bailey Ober. And he's also going to have some low-owned upside potential here as well because of the matchup and things like that. Some boomer bust plays today are going to be Zach Gallen, Ronel Blanco. They both have a high risk, high reward in their games. And then an extreme GPP play would be Jake Irvin for Washington against the Mets in a tough matchup. And my Hail Mary play for the day is Colin Ray for Milwaukee against Pittsburgh. I also think Blake Snell for San Francisco has a little bit of upside, but he's also coming back from injury today. So it looks like so. Make sure to consider him as a cheap play that has some risk. Let's go ahead and get into our catchers here. Now, I have Shea Langurlays as my favorite, as one of my core plays on the slate, and I really do like Oakland today. They're going to be a little bit underutilized as a team, but I think that they have some guys that have some potential, and Shea's got a really good upside game here with home run potential. He's also been hitting the ball very well. Even though Oakland doesn't always score a lot, they do occasionally hit some home runs, so he's definitely great on the slate. Other options today, William Contreras from Milwaukee looks very solid today. He's been absolutely phenomenal this season. He hasn't had a ton of home runs, but he does have that home run potential when he comes up to plate. And he's been really good against Pittsburgh this season, so he's a great play, though he is fairly expensive. Connor Wong is also in play for Boston, as I think Boston's going to be a very popular team to stack up today. But Wong has struggled a little bit recently, but he does have good metrics, and he has hit the ball well throughout the season, so I think he's back. Should be fine today. Cal Raleigh is also interesting for Seattle, as he has really good metrics today, and he's going to be highly owned, but he's definitely carrying a little bit of risk because he's a little bit more of a bigger best play. The top ownership today, Cal Raleigh, Tyler Stevenson, and Connor Wong. Low-owned upside options, Jonah Heim and Danny Jansen. I do think that Shea Langurlays, though, is the top overall play here. Looking at first base, Matt Olson does jump off the page as a great option for Atlanta. He's really been hitting the ball better lately, so he definitely is raising that batting average, and Atlanta seems like they're hitting the ball pretty well. I do like him. I also like Dubon for Houston at just $3,300. He's a fantastic value play today, and he can fit in at first base or an outfield. He's got really good metrics for this game, and he has some nice upside. Then we'll look at Pete Alonso. He's kind of a good contrarian play away from Matt Olson. He's been one of the few guys on the Mets that has been hitting home runs this season, so he does have some upside here. And then Nate Lowe, he's another value option here who has really good upside for Texas. I do like him quite a bit today as well. Even though he hadn't hit a bunch of home runs this season, he's hitting the ball pretty well lately, so he's got some potential. Top ownership here will be Edwin Rios, Spencer Steer, Nate Lowe, and Rowdy Tellez. Low-owned upside guy, Vlad Jr. Tellez has really been hitting the ball lately as well, so he's definitely interesting on the slate. Looking at second base here, Jose Altuve jumps off the page, top of our play. He's hit the ball absolutely fantastic lately. Marcus Semien has too, though, so he's got some really good upside here. He's getting some home runs, and he has some home run potential today, though he has struggled some throughout the season. A couple of value plays here. Zach Gelof for the Oakland A's. He has some really good potential at this price point. I think he's a fantastic play here, and he's definitely somebody I would consider on the slate as a nice cheap play at this position that's pretty much locked in with a bunch of expensive options. And then David Hamilton for Boston. I do think Boston's a good stack. I wish he was cheaper, but he has some good potential today, so he's definitely worth a look. Top ownership here will be Marcus Semien, Jose Altuve, David Hamilton, Jonathan India, Jorge Polanco, and then Willie Castro and David Schneider will be the low-owned upside guys. And Zach Gelof will be pretty low upside as well, or low upside as well. So low owned, excuse me. Look at third base. This position is also pretty expensive to start, at least with Devers. But he does have a lot of potential today with home runs. He's been hitting the ball extremely phenomenally lately. He's actually had 2 home runs in his last game, so I look for him to continue to try to hit home runs. He's been hitting the ball very well lately, scoring a lot of fantasy points. He's definitely in play, though he is super expensive, but he's got that home run potential today. Alex Bregman is a nice value play here for Houston. He's got good metrics today. He's been pretty phenomenal for us through the season when we've utilized him, and he looks solid today as well. Matt Chapman for the San Francisco Giants is a little bit more expensive than I'd like him to be, but he's a good contrarian option off of Bregman. I do think he's got good home run potential today as well. And then a kind of a Hail Mary value play here will be Hines for Cincinnati. He's played one game. He had a home run and a double in that game, and he had 19 fantasy points. He's also $2,000, so he can help you pay up at other positions, and he can play at third base or shortstop. He is very interesting because of that, so I think he is. I didn't make him a core play, but he's definitely somebody that you can just kind of throw in there. If you're kind of trying to pay up for pitching or something like that, you can kind of save a bunch of money there, especially since third base and shortstop have so many different guys available, so you can kind of mix and match guys. Top ownership at this position, Alex Bregman, Rhys Hines, and Jorge Rosas. Rafael Devers and Josh Smith will be the low-owned upside guys. For shortstop, meanwhile, Elly De La Cruz does jump off the page as a great option today. He looked fantastic yesterday, and he paid off by a couple hits and a couple stolen bases. I think he can do similar today against Colorado's pitching. He's got some nice upside today, so he's definitely worth a look. But I do like Corey Seager again. I liked him a lot yesterday. He hit a home run. He's been absolutely phenomenal lately hitting the ball, and he has good home run potential again today. Jeremy Pena, Bobby Witt Jr., O'Neal Cruz, and Rhys Hines all look really solid for this position, though. Looking at other top ownership here, Corey Seager, Rhys Hines, David Hamilton, Elly De La Cruz, Bobby Witt, J.P. Crawford, and Neil Cruz. And then low-owned upside, Josh Smith. This position is super deep, one of the deepest positions on the slate. I do think there's a lot of good options there across the board. So let's look at the outfielders here. My expensive options, Jarren Duran, Christian Yelich for Milwaukee, Brent Rooker for Oakland, and then Jordan Alvarez for Houston, assuming he plays today. All have the best metrics of the over $5,000 price point guys. All of them look solid with home run potential. Rooker is the cheapest of that group and looks really good today, so I do like him a lot. Some value plays here. Bleday for Oakland. He's one of my favorite value options in the outfield as he has some really good metrics today, home run potential. I think Oakland's going to score some runs in this one, so he's definitely worth a look. On the other side of the ball in that game, Abreu looks phenomenal today for Boston. He does have some nice upside here, though he has struggled lately. He is got that home run upside on this particular slate. Dallas Garcia for Texas. Uh, does look interesting today for against the Angels, and while he has struggled to hit the ball, he does have that home run metric today. Chas McCormick, meanwhile, for uh, Houston, he was somebody I was really considering making a core play. He's just struggled too much and he doesn't start every game. But if he starts today, being at home, he's hit the ball so much better at home than on the road. He does have some potential today. Miguel Andujar, Mauricio Dubon, Lane Thomas, Yoshida, Lane Thomas, Brandon Nemo, Jake Myers, and Jazz Chisholm Jr. all have some nice upside as well on the slate. Top ownership today will be Jaron Duran, Yoshida, Rayleigh, Blade, and Jankowski, and then other ownership options: Jorge Soler, Hunter Renfroe, Garrett Mitchell, Adolis Garcia, Spencer Steer, and Jordan Alvarez. Low-owned upside options: Willie Castro, Wyatt Langford, David Schneider, George Springer, Leody Tarveras, and Dalton Varsho. So with that said, guys, thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them below.